Happy Monday, everybody. My name's Larry Jacobs. This is K12 Education Talk Radio, and it is the 16th of October, 2023. Thanks for being with us today. I'll shut down the music, and we'll get our show started today. We've got a nice conversation with Wilson Su. Wilson, I hope I pronounced your last name properly. Okay, TSU. Wilson is the president and founder of Power Notes. And Power Notes, this is an interesting company. We'll learn about it, but we're going to get into the AI side. Power Notes is, quote, the only tool scientifically designed to help students and professionals create high-quality research confidently and efficiently. Well, that kind of is what it says over on the website, but I'll let Wilson explain it more in detail, and he'll do a better job than I just did. But what's happening is Wilson has created a company, a darn good one, that uses AI, okay, to help with research, okay, help students, and incredibly, and I if I can find it here today, what did I say? Oh, yeah. Today, Power Notes is being used by children and adults, I love this, across all levels of their writing and research journey. Here's my favorite part. From fourth graders, just grasping the concept of research, to veteran researchers with PhDs and working professionals. So we wanted to talk to Wilson about AI, what he sees as the future, how all this comes together, how it changes research, and what were our expectations of students. So it's going to be a nice conversation with Mr. Su, and we will talk with him in just a few seconds. We're going to archive the show at ace-ed.org, ace-ed.org, and that's our home website, of course, for our American Consortium for Equity in Education. Go over there. Everything's free over there at ace-ed.org. All the podcasts that we've done over there, of which there are many, our magazine, Equity and Access, new issue up on site. Check that. Just click on the cover. Our Excellence in Equity Awards program. We swing into a new phase. We just finished the industry side. Now we're starting the educator side. And it's going to be the opportunity for you folks to nominate your colleagues, yourselves, your school, et cetera, faculty and staff, okay, who are working every day for equity in pre-K-12. So check it all out at ace-ed.org. And without further ado, let me bring on Wilson. And there we go. Wilson, you there? It's Larry here.
I am, Larry. How are you?
I'm fine, my friend. How did I do in your last name? TSU. Pronounce it for me perfectly.
You got it. You got it right.
Sue? Is that good?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Wilson. Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, well, always like to get it right. I want you to brag a little bit, President and founder of Power Notes. Tell us about your company. Brag. And remember, you're talking to teachers, pre-K-12, and administrators, et cetera, Brag a bit. Tell us about it.
All right. I don't know if I'm much for bragging, but I'll tell you about it. So our company...
All right, let me change the question. In all modesty, tell us about Power Notes.
Thanks, Larry. So our company is a company that's really based on something that I found really frustrating when I started doing research or writing, particularly with digital content. And so I didn't find a good process for how to save, organize, track all my information. And so really built not just a product, but more of a platform to help researchers, students, even faculty create a process for themselves that's efficient, effective, and hopefully less frustrating for everyone. So, research and writing isn't always like the most exciting topic for most students, but it doesn't have to be as hard and frustrating as it currently is. And so what we did was, even before AI, is really try to put together a process where students can save, organize, and track all their digital content, cite it, reorganizing it, turning it into writing, and then actually start writing. And then that's what we started with. And so we built that for researchers as the end user. Then we added and started working with faculty members, added a layer where faculty members can have visibility into the process. And that was kind of a new thing for them.
At that point, you were thinking of higher ed, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, that's right. We started out in higher ed. Faculty don't get to usually see how students do their research. They kind of, students just do it off at like 2 a.m. or whenever they're doing it. And if they're doing it correctly, that's great. If not, then, that's a lot of rework when you get to a major milestone, like a first draft or an outline. And that's really frustrating for everyone. And so now faculty with Power Notes can kind of jump in at any point during the process, review what students are doing, give them formative feedback. Students can adjust on the fly. And then so when you do get that major milestone, big piece of assignment turned in, then it's more likely that they're going to have done it correctly. And so that's kind of how we started out. Then we kind of added that AI layer on top of it when AI became a big thing.
Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're doing it in a way that's and we're doing it in a way that really kind of blends in with what we're trying to do originally. So we're not trying to change our company drastically because of AI. What we're doing is just incorporating AI into our process so that all of the kind of AI that you're doing as a student or a faculty member trying to introduce AI to their students in class, all of that AI is now transparent to faculty. With the whole point of they can provide feedback, whether their prompts are good. I'll tell you right now, like the first couple of classes we ran, and faculty didn't know this, but most students' prompts were write me a paper on blah. And that's not a very good prompt. So, you need to kind of use the AI to your advantage if you want to use it. And there are certain ways to do it because there are definitely things that the AI is very bad at, and we want to try to avoid those things. We do a lot of things in PowerNotes to try to minimize those things like hallucinations. Sometimes, the AI can just make stuff up out of the blue.
The AI form of that, not hallucinations that are mental.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, so everybody knows.
And so, what we're really trying to do is give faculty members the freedom and the comfort level they need to bring AI into their classroom, start experimenting. Because one of the things that is very apparent to us in talking with a lot of our partner schools is that they see AI as part of the future of education and writing.
It is. Yeah, it is.
There can be a lot of advantages for students, especially when it comes to equity and leveling playing field and all that sort of stuff. And so one of the things they want to be able to do is understand how students are using it. And it's quite frankly an experiment for everyone. Everyone is learning how to use AI right now. Students probably have a little easier time picking it up, at least students of a certain age. And then faculty are kind of now catching up. But students we talk to a ton of students. I talk to a ton of students every year, and this year, almost every single student that I've talked to has used AI or ChatGPT. So it's definitely something that I think schools and faculty need to address. But they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to bring it in without just introducing a cheating tool to students. And so, we think we're trying to do something unique.
Not that. Yeah, it's not that. Actually, that comment you just made struck me as very funny. What a world we live in that the professors are way behind the students. It's something that's going to basically change everything. You think about that, okay? And it's just an astonishing statement. All right, and you're right. By the way, I do agree with you. Okay, and it's the same thing. People are a lot of professors, a lot of let's use the term educators are scared or were scared or are scared of AI. All right, and as a powerful research tool, you're getting your degree in neuroscience. It's great, but then I read on your website. Okay, this was in the column you were on there that the fourth graders are even using it.
Yep.
Okay, and talk to me about how you see this working in K12. I want to get into the ethics of it and all that sort of thing in a minute, but just talk about how you see AI, Power Notes, however you want to say it, okay, in K12.
Right. So,
by the way, as the kids teach the teachers, I might add, how do you see the kids teaching the teachers how to use AI? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, obviously, I think it's relevant in high school. That's where I started doing research and writing papers to a significant level with some real kind of meat on it. And obviously, a lot of high school teachers are getting their students ready for, some sort of college education where they're going to be writing more significant papers. And so that's where we really see a lot of students maybe using AI inappropriately. trying to take shortcuts, having the AI write a significant portion of, one of their assignments, and the high school teacher not knowing about it, maybe having suspicions, but not really being able to prove anything other than, it's written a certain way. And so that's where I think it makes a lot of sense to use Power Notes. Even before AI, we've always had high school teachers and administrators reach out to us to use Power Notes. We've always provided to them on kind of like a one-off basis. We don't have the kind of resources right now to really kind of market to the K12 space. So we probably have, like a dozen or a little more than that high schools using Power Notes that come to us. They come to us and they ask us to use Power Notes. We even have a couple of foreign high schools using us as well, American schools in foreign countries. And so they, again, use us to help them prep their students for college-level writing, having a way to keep all their information organized. So I want to take a step back for a second just to talk about kind of my own research and writing experience. And one of the things, and this is, I'm an older kind of person, so I did my undergrad back in the early 90s when everything was.
You're ancient, my God, you're ancient. And by the way, I'm talking. I'm a bit older than you. I'm talking to you from a sarcophagus today in Egypt. So don't worry. Yeah. Well, I'm wrapped in cloth. Yeah.
For most startup founders that I know, I'm up there in age compared to them, and so for me, having experienced kind of the research and writing in the print days, and then transitioning to digital when I went to grad school, that was a difficult transition for me. One of the biggest changes and things that I thought actually hurt my writing transitioning to digital was the fact that I didn't have a good way to save my research, save my thoughts, and then reorganize those thoughts in preparation for my writing. So back in the print days, you'd have to transcribe everything, right? You couldn't copy and paste stuff into whatever you were using. It was all kind of like a paper process, and you found the sources in the library. And then, but the benefit of that is that at least I was taught to jot my notes down on note cards. And then the beauty of that was that when it came to reorganize or really start to plan out your writing and make everything logical and fit together, it's very then easy to reorganize those note cards. You just lay them out. I mean, people talk about this all the time. They would just lay them out on their bed or a table, reshuffle things around, think about how I want to introduce things, move this there, move this to the end, move this to the front. That was the note card was a great piece of technology for reorganization.
You're right.
Now fast forward to digital, right? And so no one transcribes anything, right? So I was like, I go into grad school, everyone's like 10 years younger than me. And they're just copying and pasting left and right or leaving browser tabs open to save their information. I'm just like, wow, what are you guys doing? And so, no one transcribed anything. And so note cards were like a non, they didn't even exist to these folks. And so,
you're aging me, Wilson. You're aging me. Go ahead. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
But they would copy and paste stuff, and I'm going to use air quotes here, the good process. So you copy and paste stuff into like a word processing document, and you just kept doing that. And then at the end of the day, you ended up with this huge word processing document with just like a disorganized mess of copy and pasted stuff from all over the internet. And then how do you then reorganize that? Right? Just think about that for a second. Like the word processor is just not designed for reorganization. Like you can't, if you wanted to do it, you would have to like copy and paste stuff around. I've seen like people open like 2 or 3 other documents and copy and paste stuff into those other documents, almost tabbing while they're like changing the window and stuff like that. It's really annoying and frustrating to do that. And most people just don't do it. What they do, and we watch students do this, is they'll just start writing. They say, okay, I've internalized all the research I read over the last X amount of time, and I'm just going to start writing because it's probably the fastest way to turn this thing in. And when it comes to writing something I think needs to be supported, then I'll try to Control F through my document and then find the thing that closest is closest thing to supporting what I'm trying to say, and then I'll, shoehorn that in. And that's not the way you do source-based writing. And so you need to do things like reorganize and synthesize that research, and then decide what you want to write about, and then you start writing from there. So the whole process is a little disjointed because you don't really have a good process for just saving the information and then doing stuff with it. So that was the core piece of Power Notes, and so that's what high schools are trying to use Power Notes for. So
that's right.
They're trying to give students a structure, because one of the things that we do is we kind of force students to organize. We put them in, the faculty member can kind of define how constrained this box is, but we kind of put students in a box. And we allow them to grab whatever research, but we keep that organized. The students pick the organizational structure, or the faculty can do that as well. And then they do everything in that context. And then when it comes to reorganizing, we bring back digital formats, a digital version of those note cards, so they can easily just move things around to reorganize, so they're in a much better position to start writing. So that's kind of like high school. It's just like college. It's not very different. The use case is pretty much the same.
It is not. So explain this to me. Wait, I got to ask you this. Okay.
Yeah.
So where does AI fit into this? I mean, so far, if I'm hearing you correctly, the students have found the information. They're just having trouble. This is where Power Notes is so important.
Yep.
This helps them organize it. Okay, which is wonderful,
Yep.
by the way. It's wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, where's the AI fit in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So
Thank you.
It fits in a couple ways. So the first way it fits in is even before the student starts doing research, right? A lot of students, when they're introduced to a new subject, have no idea what's going on, right? Especially if it's an academic subject that's not in popular culture, right?
Right.
So the first thing they start doing, what they would normally do is Google or Wikipedia or something like that, right? That takes time. I mean, I don't think it takes that much time, but I mean, students want to save as much time as they can. So what they've been doing recently is they just go to AI. They either go to ChatGPT or whatever it is, and they just start asking questions. Because that way, the problem, in my mind, and this is another problem with digital, right, is that search engines have gotten so good and the internet has gotten so broad, the amount of content you have access to is so huge now. When you do a search, you get a gazillion results, right? And a lot of them are relevant. And are you going to read them all? That's tough, right? So AI is there, and AI is, and I'm going to use air quotes here again, relatively good at distilling information. There's caveats to that, and this is something that teachers need to teach, but I'll touch on that later. But they'll go to the AI and ask it questions and then get a general feeling for the subject area. So that's the first thing, part of the AI that students can do. And you instead of going to ChatGPT, which is what students would have to go today, even faculty members in the spring that we work with, before we had our AI features, they wanted to use AI in the classroom. And so what they would tell their students to do is go to OpenAI, create an account, and then do the AI work, but do it in class, because we can see what you're doing, right? And that can be problematic in a number of ways. I mean, it takes up a lot of time in class. There are privacy issues with using OpenAI that schools are very concerned about. I didn't realize how concerned about they were until we started talking about this. But, I mean, one of the things is that when you go to OpenAI, you create an account, they know OpenAI knows who you are, and they get to keep your data for training their language model. And so that's problematic for schools for a number of reasons that I think are pretty obvious. And they don't want to do that, but right now they have no choice. So one of the things that we did was we brought the AI into Power Notes. So instead of going to OpenAI, you just do it in Power Notes. We do not send any user information to OpenAI. So all OpenAI sees from us, because we use their APIs, is a bunch of prompts coming in from Power Notes, which is users from all over, from schools from everywhere. So they have no idea who they are. And then the great thing that OpenAI did is they have a privacy policy that's different for individual users versus API users. Individual users, as I mentioned before, they get to keep their data for training purposes, their inputs and outputs. They do not get to do that, or they say they don't do that, for API users. They hold their information, their data for 30 days to check for abuse, and then they delete it. And so theoretically, you can keep you own your data when you use it through PowerNotes or some other company that goes through OpenAI's APIs versus, again, their direct accounts. But the whole point of PowerNotes is that you're doing all this in PowerNotes, and so all your prompts, when you're asking the AI to give you general information, and you're asking follow-up questions, and you're going in a certain direction, we document all that. And so your faculty can see what's going on, how you're getting the information that you're getting. So if they get to a point, and this can happen when you're starting to get into more esoteric areas of the subject matter or more controversial areas,
right.
They can provide feedback. Okay, like, this might be wrong. You might want to check it. And then there's ways to check whether or not the AI is giving you the correct information. You can ask it again in a different way, or, just even asking it multiple times, it will start to, give you the more common answer. And so another thing, what we found that students struggle with, the AI is actually very good at, is giving you search phrases to go and search, right? So a lot of times students don't know what to search for. And again, this is something that we've gotten feedback from our faculty, which is especially freshmen when they're starting out, or high school students. They're not great at searching for pop culture type things. They need to search for specific terms, right?
Yep.
And so the AI can give you those things, and we're going to have things like standard prompts that can give you like search terms, and then we can even PowerNotes can even link into and search school library databases, because library search engines have their own APIs, and we connect with them. And so,
as someone, I got to ask you this, Wilson. As someone is writing a paper, and whatever it might be, organic chemistry, some subject within, okay, a PowerNotes knows what the topic is, okay, for this particular person, okay. Are they? Is PowerNotes, which is a ethereal entity, are they constantly searching the web to look for new research on that topic and throwing it to the user and saying, "Hey, I just found this. You didn't see this. I just found this." Does it work like that? I'm just curious.
With the AI, it can. So one of our AI features is something we call discovery, and it's on the research side of PowerNotes. So part of PowerNotes is there to help you, as I mentioned earlier, grab things that you're viewing in your browser and save them and organize it for you, right? So one of our pieces of AI is called discovery, and it's on that front-end browser extension. And what it does is, for any given article that you're on, you can hit a button, and then we will send that article to the AI, whatever AI the school chooses, and it will send back three things.
Wow.
A summary. The ChatGPT is actually pretty good at summarizing things, so it'll send back a summary. The second thing is what you're talking about. So it will send back a list of common or related but slightly different searches based on related search topics, based on the content of the article. So the AI will create those, and it will send them back. And then so you'll have, if this article isn't exactly on point, you'll see this list of AI-generated searches that you're like, oh, this one's much closer to what I want. You can click on it, and then we'll actually search that stuff, either in your library or on Google, and then the search results will be right there, so you just click right into it. So I think that's sort of what you're talking about. But again, that's going to be AI-generated.
So
and then the third piece.
This is always a funny question. I got to ask you this, okay? And I'm going to ask it with a smile on my face. What's the downside? What's the downside of all this? PowerNotes. What's the downside? I'll give you a little hint. I don't see much of a downside. Okay, but tell me what you see. What's the downside?
It depends on how you define downside. So for me, the hardest part about this is to get faculty and instructors to change. All right, and so this is the hard part. And so the way that we kind of do things is we are a process-focused product. So we want you to be able to teach the process. The process is typically where the learning happens, but historically, instructors and educators assess the output. So there's a difference between the process and the output, right?
Agreed.
The output is a paper, and it's supposed to demonstrate what you learned during the process, right? And which is great. And so it's something that's relatively easy to assess because it's, X pages, it's contained, and it's what you have visibility into. Like the students turn that in. Historically, as I mentioned earlier, the faculty haven't had access to the process. So they couldn't even assess it if they wanted to. Now, that was fine, and a lot of faculty members before AI came out liked us because they understood that, hey, everything happens during the process. And so if I have visibility into the process, then that gives me an advantage and more levers to pull in terms of teaching my students, and that's great. That was okay, and we grew organically, and people got it. But changing their teaching style or method or what they assess is very difficult until AI came along, right? And so when AI came along, it really said, hey, this is the fastest, easiest, cheapest way for students to just fake the output, right? So the AI fakes outputs. It will just create the output for you with a click of a button, or not a click of a button. It was like not that much work.
And I got to tell you, you keep saying, this is interesting, Wilson, you keep saying it's about the students, it's about the students, it's about the students. But professors who can be disorganized, as the old shuffled, used to be in the movies, the goofy, absent-minded professor, okay? But that's not the way professors are anymore. That's a stereotype. But my point is, Power Notes is also good for professors and for everybody, I might add, because they are the ones responsible for organizing that subject into a teachable thing, into a teachable moment, all right? And they have to do that same research. They have to stay ahead of the game too, all right? And if you can find a process, and everybody these days, and Wilson, I got to say, everybody in education will tell you it all boils down to time. I don't have the time to do it. But if you can find somebody, something, if I may, Power Notes, that it takes over that process and is constantly looking for you and helping you develop the process that, again, leads to the output, be it in the form of a paper, be it in the form of a lecture, or whatever, all right? That's fantastic. It's organization, and most people are not very good at that, I might add.
Right, I agree.
Most people just are not. All right. So this is an organizational tool, and we're damn fools. If not you and I, we're brilliant, but everybody else, are damn fools if they don't understand. And I think everybody does. AI is not going to be put back into the bottle. It's here. It's here. All right, and it makes sense to use it. We got to be very careful with it, as you well know. And as everybody listen, and if you don't believe me, watch Terminator 3. Did you see that, Wilson?
Of course.
Watch Terminator. Just always, whenever you're in a good mood, whenever you're in that dangerous mood, watch Terminator 3. Okay? And, the point is we've got to use this and use it well and use it right. And a tool like this, built, I have to say, from experience, can make all the difference in the world. It's going to make life a lot easier. And I have to ask you this. People, we did not talk about this. I read your bio a little bit. You were an electrical engineer, right?
Yes, that's right.
So, and then you went to law school where you figured all this out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how come how'd you get into figuring all this out? That's amazing. That's an amazing story right there.
I mean, for me, it was the reason why I went to law school.
How'd you do it? Yeah.
I mean, I was because of my engineering background. During law school, when I was frustrated with the digital research and writing, I was kind of building Power Notes in my head. Pieces of technology that I knew existed or were available that if you put them together in the right way, you could make the process a lot easier, a lot more streamlined, a lot less frustrating. So, that was kind of happening throughout law school. When I practiced law for a couple of years, the problem got worse. There was more complexity in my assignments. Things got harder, not easier. And so, I worked at the firm to pay off my loans, and then once I paid them off, I left and started this company. Because
are you still in Chicago?
I am still in Chicago.
Oh, where? I used to live there. Where I lived in Rogers Park, right south of Evanston.
We're in the West Loop. We're in the West Loop. That's where the company is. We're right in Greektown. So I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
Oopa. Of course I'm familiar with it. I lived there a long time. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Right? So look what you've done. I mean, it's really just amazing. And I think teachers have to understand this, okay, and how good it is, okay? And I don't know how familiar you are with the education world. Have you ever heard of the conference called ISTE? ISTE?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yep.
How long has the company been around? I should ask you that. How long has the company been around?
This product has been around since 2017.
Oh, okay. So, I don't know, have you been to ISTE and shown the product to people?
Oh, yeah.
K12.
We were there this year. We've been there. I mean, I think we weren't there during the pandemic because it didn't exist. Maybe it was online.
Yeah, I know.
But we started going to ISTE in probably 2018, 2019, somewhere in there.
Okay, and then it skipped again. So what's the reaction when that's a K12 show, if I may? You know, it might the society
that's right.
for technology and education, but it's pre-K12. Okay, what's the reaction of the educators when they see this?
I mean, ISTE is a pretty self-selecting crowd. They're pretty tech savvy, and so
they are.
They usually get a lot of value. I mean, they usually really like the product. You know, we give it away for free for folks that come to us at ISTE. So you know, any teacher in K12 that wants to use PowerNotes for free, we'll give them access at ISTE. Again, we don't do a lot of marketing to K12. But you know, we want them to try our tools. I think at some point we're going to really start making a push into K through 12. As I mentioned, like we do have students using it down in fourth grade, and that's funny because those are typically the children of professors at our schools.
Oh, how interesting!
That tell their students' teachers about PowerNotes.
I love it.
And it's usually because the students are struggling with some sort of executive functioning issue, keeping themselves organized in a structured environment when it comes to finding and recording information. They're not writing papers at that age, but they are finding information on the internet, and they are saving it, and they're trying to structure it in some way. And some students really struggle with that. And so PowerNotes is basically puts them again on rails, inside guardrails, and helps them structure things because the whole nature of putting things into PowerNotes is to structure things. And so that's really helped their children, and so that's something that we're really excited about. Again, we haven't made a big push there because we just don't have the resource right now. But that's probably something we're going to be doing. If not late this year, then which is already kind of late this year.
Well, that's wonderful. Maybe we can help you with that. And I hope this podcast helps to get the word out a little bit, okay? Because this is important stuff, and every step of the way is extremely important. We got to go, but Wilson, thank you. This was just great. And I got everything linked up here, okay, on site, folks, as you're listening. So, Wilson, thanks a million. And give my regards to Chicago. They'll have some Raditas. Think of me over in Greektown, okay?
All right. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Bye. Wilson Sue, everybody. President and founder, I didn't know he was in Chicago, of PowerNotes, okay? And check it all out. It's all linked up here. It's interesting stuff. When you start really putting it all together, it's unbelievable. Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, it has to happen. We're going to archive over at ace-ed.org, and everything we do over there is free, so go over and see for yourself. I'm Larry Jacobs. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Wilson.